Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book haul for you. So you may remember that I'm not meant to be buying books, and I have been buying books again. It's actually not quite as many as in my last haul, and I would say I have very good reason. Yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to go into the book. So I do my book hauls quarterly, so this is my summer book haul. These are all the books that I bought between beginning of June and the end of August. It's basically any books that I bought between the last haul I filmed and this one, but it's generally books I bought in the summer. I'm going to go through them in categories. Most of these books have already been added to my Goodreads TBR. There are one or two that haven't. I'll explain why when I get to them. Without further ado, let's just get into the books. So the first three books I'm going to talk about are not ones that are going on my TBR because they're slightly more reference books, although the first one I might actually sit down and read cover to cover, but I'm not entirely sure yet. I have got into a bit of an eco frenzy at the moment. I'm trying really hard to limit the effect my actions have on the planet, and one way of doing that is to try and cut down on single-use plastics. So I picked up this book to help me, which is called How to Give Up Plastic by McCallum, who is the head of Oceans from Greenpeace UK. So this has got lots of practical tips for cutting down the use of plastic and recycling it and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that will give me a bit of a guide as to how I can cut down my use of single-use plastics and find alternative methods of achieving the same aims as I do from plastic. Hoping that will be really helpful to me. Linked to that, I've got two craft books that I ordered. I've wanted both of them for a while, and they're both about ecological knitting, essentially. So the first one is eco-friendly knits. All of the patterns in here you can make using recycled plastic bags. So it shows you how to make plan, which is plastic yarn, from plastic bags, and then gives you tips for what you can, different things you can make out of them. Sort of practical things like a mobile phone case to less practical things like building blocks, although fun for small kids, and various things like desk tidies and different size projects as well. They're all quite simple makes. I'm really looking forward to having a go at making some of these. I have a little stash of not just plastic bags but like plastic packaging from large products that aren't really being recycled at the moment, so I'm gonna have a go at making some of these, and if it goes well then I am hopefully going to be doing upcycled Christmas presents this year, and so this is something that I bought to help me achieve that aim. And similarly, I got this book which is called Knit Pal Save the World, and these are all again ecological knits, so it gives suggestions for sustainable sources of yarn and different sort of places that make those, but then it also has again some patterns for things made using plant. It also has things made using recycled t-shirts, and this one uses fabric from recycled saris, and there's a couple of things that you can make using strips of paper, knitted strips of paper. So I'm really excited about having a go at some of these patterns again and maybe making some Christmas presents out of that. I think I'm going to go through my pre-orders next. So I did have a number of pre-orders that came through in the last couple of months. I haven't read any of these yet, but I'm really excited to. So I had 6 pre-orders come through in the last couple of months. The first couple are middle grade, and then I think the others are all adult. The first one is this book, Lost for Words by Aoife Walsh. This is a story of a girl who is trying to save her local library, which is threatened with being shut down. It sounds like a really endearing story, so I have wanted to read it for a while, and so that has arrived in the last couple of months, hopefully getting to that one soon. Next we have the Starlight Watchmaker by Lauren James. Another beautiful cover there. All of Lauren James's books have really beautiful covers. I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but I love her books, so even though I'm not really the target audience for this, I just wanted to have it because I love her books. And then finally, again, I think this is middle grade, I'm not entirely sure. This is A Pocketful of Stars by Aisha Bushby. So she was one of the authors of A Change Is Gonna Come, which is a collection of short stories from BAME authors that was one of our Ninja Book Club books last year. I've been following her since then because I really enjoyed her short story in that, and I heard this book was coming out and I really wanted to read it. Again, I don't really know what it's about. I just bought it because of who the author is, because that's what I'm like. So then I have 3 other books. This one, I'm not sure if it's adult or YA. This is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faisal. This is fantasy set in the Middle East. It sounds like a really great story. I was eagerly anticipating this book's arrival. I'm really cross with myself for having not read it yet. I'm going to try and get to it as soon as possible. I've heard so many good things about this. Again, I follow Hafsah Faisal on Twitter and I really enjoy her tweets, so I'm hoping that I really enjoy her book as well. Then we have the latest book by Becky Chambers, which is called To Be Taught If Fortunate. This is not part of the Wayfarer series. It's a standalone at the moment. I'm not sure if it's going to become another series or not. So this is a novella. It's only quite short. I really love her writing, so again, I'm hoping to get to this one soon as it's so short, but I've not quite got around to it yet. And then finally, the last pre-order I had was The Stolen Kingdom by Bethany Atazadeh. She is a author tuber who I really enjoy. I've not managed to buy any of her books until now, but this is a Aladdin retelling, and it's a start of a series of fantasy retellings of fairy tales that she is putting together. So I'm really keen to read the whole series, and this one has just been released, so I've been really looking forward to reading some of her works, and so hopefully getting to that one soon as well. Next, I had a couple more books come through from my book subscriptions. So we had the latest in my Puddin subscription, which is Faces on the Tip of My Tongue by Emmanuel Pagano. I think this is a French author, translated from the French. I'm not sure what it's about, but I think it might be short stories. I love French literature. I really enjoy French books, so I'm looking forward to reading this, and if I enjoy it I might try and get the original French because I need to practice my French more. I really enjoy most of the books I receive from Puddin, so looking forward to getting to this one. And then I had 2 more books from my Deadink Books subscription. So we have Water Shall Refuse Them by Lucie McKnight Hardy and Glitch by Lee Rourke. I'm not really sure what either of these books is about, but I've heard really good things. So this one is set in 1976 and it sounds like urban fantasy. This one I think might be science fiction, but I'm not entirely sure. But it seems sort of quite contemporary, maybe with a bit of science fiction thrown in. Anyway, I don't know until I read it, so hopefully getting to both of those before too long, because what's the point in subscribing to book subscriptions if you don't get around to the books? Well, it's supporting the independent publishers actually, really, so that's the main reason why I do it, but I'm looking forward to reading all of these books soon. Let's go to next, a book that I received in a giveaway. I follow this author on Twitter and she hosted a giveaway and I won, which was amazing. So this is The Light Over London by Julia Kelly. She is the sister of Justine from I Should Read That, who has a great booktube channel, so go and check out her channel. She's one of my favourite booktubers, one of the first booktubers I started watching, and Julia Kelly is her sister, so I found Julia Kelly's Twitter account through her sister and entered the giveaway and won this lovely signed copy of her book. So I'm really excited to read it. It is historical fiction but told across a couple of different timelines set during the Second World War. So it sounds like the sort of book that I really love, so really looking forward to reading this one. Then we've got a couple of books that I bought discounted. I read this first one a couple of years ago and have wanted to have my own copy of it ever since. So that is Dumplin by Julie Murphy, and I bought this because I really wanted to read the sequel Puddin, also by Julie Murphy. I've been wanting to read Puddin for a while and I was waiting for my library to get it and they didn't get around to it, and then I saw that it was being released in paperback, so I was going to buy the paperback, but then I thought I also want to reread Dumplin. So I looked on Abe Books, which is a really great secondhand book website. It's kind of like a marketplace where a lot of booksellers sell their books, and I found the hardback for both books was cheaper than buying the paperback new, so I thought I will just get both because I really want to reread Dumplin. So really excited to have both of these books. I need to reread Dumplin soon and read Puddin. I'm really looking forward to that. And then one book that I got in a charity shop in the last couple of months is 1599, A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare by James Shapiro. I just really love Shakespeare, so I am looking forward to reading this because I love Shakespeare. So hopefully getting around to all of these soon, but who knows, because I buy so many books. Not too many more to go now. I don't actually know how many there are in this haul either. A couple of weeks ago I was at a Christian youth festival. I was part of a group taking a group of young people from our church, and they had a bookshop there and I wasn't going to buy anything and then I did. A couple of these books though were really discounted, which was really good. So there were 2 books from their sales shelf. This one is called Deep by Frog and Amy Orr. I've wanted this book since the previous time I went to this festival. It was called Soul Survivor, and I went when I was in my early 20s and heard them speak, and have wanted this book ever since, and I finally got it reduced to $2.99 in their sales section. And then secondly, from their sales section, I got Mirrorball by Matt Redman. Matt Redman is a songwriter and worship leader. He's written a couple of books about church worship and what it means, and I picked this one up because of the title Mirrorball. A few years ago I heard a talk about how church should be like a mirror ball because we reflect God's light out to the people outside. It's an image that I really enjoyed and I've used in some of my poetry, which is on my blog, which I will link in the description box. If you want to go and check out my poetry, go and have a look at that. But this concept of a mirror ball is one that I'm really keen on. Yeah, so I just wanted to read his thoughts on this idea of worship as a mirror ball, shining brightly for the glory of God is the tagline there, which is, yeah, I really like. And then while I was also there, they do seminars there, and there was a seminar that I wanted to go to but I didn't make it to because it was on at the same time as something else, and then I saw in the bookshop that the couple giving the seminar had also written a book. So this is their book. It's called When Grace Showed Up by Tich and Joan Smith, who are from South Africa. They felt called to go and live in a really poor village in South Africa and help change people's lives there. They work with orphaned and vulnerable children and try and give them a new life, and this book was only $2.99 as well, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The next book I picked up was recommended by Mike Pilavachi, who was one of the people running the festival. It's called Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Haley Barton. This was a bit pricey. This one cost me £15, but I wasn't going to buy it when I was there, and then I had a look online and I couldn't find it cheaper anywhere, so I thought I might as well get it while I'm there, and hopefully it means I'll get around to reading it sooner. I'm going to try and get to it fairly soon because it came really highly recommended, so that's that one. The final book I picked up there I'm really excited about. It's by an author I really like called Nick Page. It is called A Nearly Infallible History of the Reformation, which is a period of history I find really interesting, and Nick Page is a brilliant writer. He writes with a lot of humour, and I think this is intended to be quite a funny book compared to some of his other non-fiction, which can be quite weighty. So this is commemorating 500 years since the Reformation. It's got things like top trump cards for different historical figures involved in the Reformation. Right, apologies for the sudden change in location. My lamp just died. I'm not really sure why, so I've had to move to make use of the sources of light in the room. The good news is I'm nearly done with the haul, so it won't take too much longer. So the last set of books that I have to talk about are a slightly early birthday present from my nan. So my nan generally gives me money for my birthday each year. This year I've just got back from a little holiday with my family, with my parents and my brother. We're all members of the National Trust, so we just went up to the Peak District to visit some National Trust properties around there. And we stopped on the way up at Buckingham Chantry Chapel, which is a very small National Trust property and is essentially a second-hand bookshop, because a lot of National Trust properties have second-hand bookshops to help them fundraise money for the properties. So this was one of them, and they also had a nice little cafe there. And I wasn't intending to buy any books there, and then I saw this lovely collection, and so my parents suggested I use money my nan was giving me for my birthday to buy it, and I think I got a bargain. So this is a collection of Dickens novels, and there are 15 of them here. Some of them are bind up, so I'm just going to go through all of them. So we've got the Pickwick Papers, American Notes, Mr. Humphrey's Clock and the Life of Dickens, Our Mutual Friend, Little Dorrit, Martin Chuzzlewit, Sketches by Boz and Hard Times, David Copperfield, Barnaby Rudge and the Uncommercial Traveller, Dombey and Son, A Tale of Two Cities and a Christmas Carol, Bleak House, Nicholas Nickleby, Christmas Stories and Pictures from Italy, Oliver Twist and Great Expectations, and finally Miscellaneous Papers and the Mystery of Edwin Drood. So there are 15 books there. A little bit of research afterwards has taught me that it's nearly a complete work. So there is one book missing. This was a publisher called Hazel, Watson and Viney, and in the 1930s they released a complete work of Dickens reissue, and there were 16 volumes. I only have 15, so I'm missing the Old Curiosity Shop, which is in a collection with another book, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I think it's A Child's History of England or something like that. It's not one of his famous novels, it's just some of his other writings. So this set cost me, cost my nan technically £25. I'm hoping, I think I found a copy of the Old Curiosity Shop to complete the set, which I've ordered again from Abe Books. The bookseller couldn't tell me whether it was the blue editions to match my set. They also released red editions. I think it was a little bit earlier, so I'm hoping that based on the dates and whatnot on the website, I've found the right copy to complete my set. I love Dickens, and I've read some of his books, and I'm just really excited to have nearly a complete set. Hopefully a complete set within the next couple of days. Hello, Editing Kerry here, just with a very quick addition to say my copy of the Old Curiosity Shop arrived and it matches. It's also blue, yay! So I now have a complete set of the complete works of Dickens by Hazel, Viney and Watson Limited Publishing, dating from roughly the 1930s, I think, and I'm so excited, and I actually think this might even be in slightly better condition than the rest of them. I'm over the moon because this is a book that I have been really looking forward to reading. So you can see there it's The Old Curiosity Shop and A Child's History of England, and that is adding to my collection. So this is a bit of a curious case because I haven't put these on my TBR yet, because I have read some of them, and some of them I've read, for example, I've read Hard Times, but I haven't read Sketches by Boz, so I haven't quite decided whether that needs to go on my TBR or red shelf or another shelf. I haven't quite figured all that out yet because I literally got back yesterday with them, so I need to figure that out. Some of these also will be replacing books I already have, so they're already on my TBR or already on my red shelf. In some cases, I now have 2 editions of some of these books, so I need to decide which editions I'm keeping. Obviously I'm going to keep the complete set, but some of them, like Little Dorrit, I've just got a cheap paperback copy, so I probably won't be keeping that one. But others, like the Pickwick Papers, I already have a really nice old edition of it, so I'm tempted to keep both. I probably will, even though I never wanted to be that person that had multiple editions of the same book. That's just not my thing. I know some people love that, and if it's your favourite book, then I completely understand wanting to have lots of different copies of it. That's not for me because I have limited space and I have a lot of books, but in these circumstances, I'm inclined to probably keep my really nice editions that I already have and just have several editions. Also, ones like Oliver Twist and Great Expectations, I have these in single volume nice editions. So even though you may have heard me talk about my dislike for omnibus editions before, these are actually quite neat, quite small and light editions, even though they're hardback. I'm not too worried about the fact, because it's the complete works, I kind of understand why they've bound up some of the shorter books to get sort of uniformity of size of edition, but in some cases if I've got it in a single volume, I might keep the single volume as well as keeping the bind up. Anyway, I should probably count how many books this was. That's 31 books in my book haul today. Yeah, that's slightly less than my previous book haul. Some of these books as well I have read, so it's not adding an awful lot to my TBR. Hello, Editing Kerry here again, just with another very quick interjection to say that I cannot count. I missed 4 books from when I had to move location because of the lighting, and so 4 books didn't move with the rest of the pile, so I forgot to count them, meaning including the one I've just added today, my total is now up to 36 for that haul, so slightly more than I thought, but again, not too bad. I've had slightly bigger hauls in the past, and I will be unhauling some of the Dickens that I now have duplications of, and I am planning to figure out a way of unhauling a few more books at Christmas, because that's when I'll do my next big unhauls. But yeah, that's all for today. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Give me some advice on how I can buy less books, because this is really becoming a problem. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, so please like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every week, so let me know if there's anything particular you want to see from me. Follow me on my social media as well. All that information is always in the description box below. But other than that, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!